Hello and welcome to the Tuesday, January 28th meeting of the Finance Committee. I figured as soon as I started talking, everybody would suddenly quiet down and we'd actually get business going here. So we have a couple of things more budget reviews tonight. For those of you who are curious, by the way, we haven't been on TV the last couple of weeks due to conflicts with this room. So you haven't missed any of our meetings that have been televised. This is our first televised meeting in a few weeks. But tonight, first, do we have any administrative business we need to take care of? Mr. Ritter, where that reserve fund transfer is coming next week, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, then let's move right to budget reviews then. Okay, we have our building inspector here. Come up, introduce yourself, and you have the floor.
Very short distance to come up.
Exactly.
What do I need to say? We followed guidance as much as we possibly could. There's a few changes from last year related to the software purchase that is no longer in the capital line, and it becomes a maintenance fee to handle the IT side of things and the cloud support. The only thing we've added in there was a $2,500 line in the capital, which is an additional package with the software that does the it automates the payment system to utilize the People GIS payment, so it takes credit cards, it takes ACH,
So
it does
this
all
is
these other
for
things.
collection of inspection
Building
fees?
permit fees,
Permit fees, okay.
electrical permit fees, etc.
No, I don't know anything about it.
Okay. Thank you, Mary. That's
Yes.
my first question. Yes, has this been,
So
has gone through the treasurer?
The way the software works now, it lets us use the system that we have. It just becomes a manual approval process. This automates that process.
Okay, well, all I would say is that anything concerning the handling of money
Mhm.
should be run by Mary. And run by, not actually operated by Mary. I'm saying run by her.
Yes.
Come visit her.
Yes.
Make sure it all.
Discussed with.
Yep.
And discussed with, thank you. Because, you know, the one thing that we don't want, not just in your department, in every department, right? We always have people coming in saying, we have this new software and the GIS and everything, right?
Mhm.
We need to have a coordinated approach towards all this stuff, and that's we just want to make sure. You know, the assessor has the whole GIS system. We've tied other things into it. If this, you know, we talked about this last year with the other software, tying that in there as well.
Mhm.
If this is a piece of that, then that definitely has to involve the treasurer's office. So I'll make sure you go with it. Okay, so continue.
Beyond that, everything else is flat. So not hopefully too much to talk about.
Okay, okay. I will start with Ms. Nersessian.
Just in terms of the software, what's the reduction in labor time for doing that? And does that reflect it in here?
Well, it's turning on next week. We're going to find out. It's taken them this long to get it built out and operational. We now have been playing with a demo version of it for the last couple months, but they're actually going live with it on Monday. So,
Did the vendor tell you what to expect from a reduction in time? Or how much time do you currently spend taking in the payments and then recording them?
sure. Well, it's not just about the payments. It's about taking the whole permit application in digitally, as well as all of the paperwork that comes along with a permit. Everything comes in a digital format
Okay.
with the software. So it should save us quite a bit of desk time, which is good because we're going to need it to go back and scan in all the back catalog of stuff that goes back a million years. So I don't expect that we're not going to be busy, but we're going to be busy hopefully building out the system on the back end now.
Okay. So it's not really, there's no reflection in the payroll cost for
No, we're
downtime?
keeping everybody the same, but yes, if we end up having some time, we're not going to be twiddling our thumbs. We've got an entire file room of files to put into this system.
Okay. That was it.
Okay, Mr. Murphy?
What, maybe I missed it because I was taking notes, but $10,000, what was the equipment maintenance that we?
Oh, so the software is managed entirely out of house. So Chris Mayo or our IT department does not have any oversight or involvement with their system. It's so the $10,000 covers the management of the cloud storage that is required for all the documents that get scanned into it. It covers People GIS providing 24/7 customer support and troubleshooting and all that kind of stuff. And it's basically just system maintenance, and it's a recurring cost.
So we're going to be seeing 10,000 per year
Correct.
ongoing?
Yep.
Okay.
Can I ask a question just to follow up on that?
Sure.
So is Chris comfortable with the security around that system, given it's not in our own cloud?
Yes.
Okay, he's looked at it and.
Yes, and they run the same software in a couple dozen other towns around Massachusetts. It's pretty robust.
Thanks.
As a contract?
Yes,
So $10,000 is the cost? And
Yes.
every year that's going to be the cost?
Yes.
Or, I mean,
yes. So far, it hasn't gone up in the few years that I've seen the system around. It's stayed at $10,000, whether they
is there any way
kick it up or not.
rename that account?
Or
Every year we're going to have a
create a new
question about
account.
why there's
That's what I would
capital
suggest.
in this account. And
I stuck it in, I looked at another, that's what we called it when we have to pay our $100,000 for Munis.
So why don't we,
I stuck it in the same account.
I get that,
I get
but why
that.
don't we create a line item for literally
What would you like
software
it to say?
licenses? Software
Huh?
licenses. That's what it should be.
I didn't hear you.
Software
Software licenses.
licenses or software SaaS, system as a service, so it's online?
it's every year we're going to say, why do you have
You're
$10,000?
asking for
You know,
SaaS.
and it's
I
not.
can give
So
you that, but.
Another A, you're missing one A.
We're earning it. We're earning it tonight.
Somebody else started. It's been a long week. Careful what you ask for.
Tuesday.
Okay, but a late night last night and a late night tonight, and so.
Okay,
Okay.
focus, Mr. Murphy.
That's it.
Okay, Ms. Zimmer.
Oh, nothing, we talked last
Okay.
week.
Mr. Maxwell.
Nothing good, thank you.
Mr. Sparrow.
Just so because we haven't seen all the other budgets, so is it, other departments are using the same, using a piece of this system?
So this lets the other departments do the piece of the building and other permits that we do. It allows them to do their review, approval, interaction with customers, get notification, all that stuff happens. But it's not permitting, say, like a dog license.
Okay.
It could, if we decided to pay for that additional package, but that's a different.
Because my follow-up to that was actually going to be, I just want to make sure, like, if other departments are using it, I want to make sure that you're not the only one paying the licensing fee for it.
Understood, but no, they'll be using it in a sort of, to replace the little paper approval slips that we get now, or the email that Lisa sends around when it's time for an occupancy permit, and everybody has to send 15 emails back saying it's okay.
Okay.
It all gets housed within this system, and all the approvals get recorded in there. So yeah, the other departments interact with it, but they don't actually issue permits via it.
Okay.
If that makes sense.
Yes, and so, but what I'm thinking about from a financial standpoint is that the software licensing is just coming through you, no one else, none of the other departments are.
Right. If we wanted to pick up, for example, the fire department package, then I could see that we would start splitting things out. But for
Okay.
the moment, it's just.
But if because I heard you saying, like,
Coming up, Chief?
the assessors,
Yeah.
Okay.
that if the assessors are using it and things like that, I don't want you to get stuck with a $10,000 software license that, maybe the
Understood, yeah.
assessors could.
So it's a tool that the assessors will absolutely be using.
Yes.
But it's not directly related. It just lets them skip having to come down and pull out all the paper files. It will let them
Okay,
track,
so
a, track a project without having to ask. me
It
where
should
it's
be
at.
housed under you, is what you're
Yes,
saying.
absolutely.
Okay,
It's
that's-
in the right budget line.
That's all I
Yeah.
wanted. I wanted to make sure you were, if there was some,
I'll own it.
Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah.
And I think that's it.
Well,
Thank you.
That's a discussion we can have later. Okay.
So what was your employment date, your hire date?
September of 18.
18, okay. But you didn't receive a raise? Or the building inspector didn't receive a raise, is that correct?
In this past cycle of department head adjustments, I
Yes.
received an adjustment, which is what the number is.
That's why the I'm presuming that's why the appropriated amount for 2020 is different than in our system versus what's sitting here. We keep seeing those differences. I didn't
Yes.
re-ask because
Well, I don't
These are all
understand if it says it's going up 0.65%.
the appropriated amount
appropriated
sitting
amount
in
reflects the
20, they
increase already.
adjusted instead of
They-
leaving
they-
the way it was.
And then because the prior year was the prior inspector,
The
Yes.
prior year
Yes.
had two inspectors both
Right.
getting
Yep.
paid, so there's a hiccup on that.
Yep.
Yes.
it's
I did the same thing, don't worry.
Yeah, I'm still, the way we're accounting for this is, okay.
But yes, that number, that 88,041, that is the number in my contract with no adjustment to it.
Okay. Anything else, Nick?
Nope.
Okay, just a couple of things. So with regards to the software and the permitting, that, it has the approval process all tied in there. but you said all the data is stored on the cloud. Who owns that data?
We do. So
Okay.
it's specifically written into the contract that
Okay.
should we discontinue service with this company at any point, they will provide us with copies of all data that gets uploaded to it.
Okay, and
Yeah.
do they have a deletion policy that says if we do discontinue the service, we get the data and they get to delete what they have? Do they get to retain the data?
I'd have to go read the contract again, but
Yeah, I mean, that's something just to keep in mind,
Mhm.
right, when this contract gets renewed, is to make sure we have data deletion.
mhm.
It's fine for them to give it back to us, but we also want to make sure they don't get the right to keep it and sell it.
Yes,
or
yeah,
anything
no,
like that.
exactly, yeah.
So-
I'm fairly certain that it's in there, but I don't want to
Okay.
speak
Yep,
without
that's
reading
fine.
it. Yep.
Let's see, 25, there's one, everything else is pretty level. Okay, no, I guess that's it. The vehicle maintenance, I noticed you haven't spent much, which is fine.
No, we are going to get some tires for that little roller skate, so.
Okay. Okay, oh, I know what it was. I was looking at the revenue side,
Yes,
the permits. So these numbers, I assume, Sharon, for revenue are through December 31?
Correct.
Okay, so if you look at the run rate we're seeing in FY '20 compared to FY '19, looks to me to be significantly lower. Is that, are you
some of that
seeing-
is related to one specific permit issued in the last fiscal year, which was PharmaCann, which had a $125,000 permit fee by itself.
Okay,
So
Okay.
there are those occasional oddball permits. I pulled up some numbers. As far as number of permits issued, in the first half of FY '20, we've done 496 building permits.
Mhm.
Last year, in all of fiscal year '19, we did 861 total, so we're
Okay, so-
above
yeah, okay, that's good.
normal. We also raised the permit fees a little bit midway through the cycle, so we've started to see a little
Okay.
bit of an offset from that.
Okay, I was
too.
just wondering if we were starting to see any cracks in the,
No, everything has
Buildings.
been busy. It's just been a lot more smaller permits. We had a number of very big permits go out for some of those marijuana facilities
okay.
in fiscal year.
Okay, so
19.
on the software side, the other thing I was going to ask you about the software was, how does it work with the inspectors, right? Since we have the revolving account and so forth, so how do the inspectors now handle the inspections? I know in the past when it was paper, right, they go out the inspection, they
Mhm.
sign the card, and then
They
collect
just
their fee.
do it in the computer now.
Okay,
so
so
it's-
it's no,
it's-
they're not, doesn't
No,
result in more work
so
for them.
once somebody calls for an inspection request, we enter it in the computer. It sits there until they come in and say whether it passes, fails, or otherwise. It will keep the log for us
Okay,
of all the inspections that they do. It actually make the payroll about 1,000 times easier because it logs
Okay.
all the stuff that right now Lisa's keeping, like 5 different sets of books to try to make sure that we know who
Yeah.
went where and what they did. It's all going to be in one place now.
okay, that's good.
Yep.
Okay. So I just want to make sure that that's not, we're not going to see any, increased costs because they're charging more because they have to come to town hall or something as opposed to writing on a piece of paper.
No, I mean, and they could do it remotely. They could do it on their phone and log it in from the field if they want to. They probably won't, but they could.
Now, as part of getting the software, did we go back in time at all, or is it just all new permits from when the software was
No, it's
installed?
everything that was ever in the computer system will be loaded into the software.
So, I don't know how far back our computer system went. into-
1993,
Okay.
yeah.
So
Lotus
that's
1,
all-
2, 3, still operating on the one computer that can run it.
There you go. So,
Yeah, so it's certainly time for an upgrade, and yeah, so we will have all the record going back that far that was digital. It
Okay.
gets transferred over and.
Now, is there any
Continue
public
to run.
access to this stuff? I may have
Yes.
asked this last year, right?
Yes.
So a resident could look up permits for their
Correct, they can
property?
see the status of permits going back to '93, they can see status of permits that have been applied for, permits that are open, they can check what's going on all around the neighborhood.
To the neighbor.
Yeah, and it will update the GIS map to show
Hey,
who's got
Mary
who's
Smith
got
down
open
the
permits and who
street.
doesn't, yeah. It's-
So is that, when is that part, I mean, you said it's going live in the next?
So, yeah, we're doing an internal activation on Monday. I expect that we'll run it for 4 to 6 weeks internally only, just to get any
Mhm.
little kinks out, and then it goes live to the public
Okay.
after that, where we have a couple computers dedicated to be terminals at the counter, so that people can come in, and, realtors or other people that want to just
Yeah.
research
I
the
mean, not
property.
that
look.
there's huge demand for it, I was just wondering when.
Oh, there is.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah, people ask all the time,
Mhm.
so,
I'll vouch for that, I can hear
yeah.
Okay, okay. Any other follow-up questions from everybody? Okay, then I guess you're all set.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you all. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, next up is, what are you guys, right? Yes, Mary. See, that's why I asked him if he had talked to you, because when he mentioned money, I was like, gotta make sure.
I've mentioned it several times, but no.
Okay.
Lead account, never mind. Nothing.
Okay, she doesn't want anybody here. Okay.
Okay,
Go
treasure
ahead.
collector budget first. Administrative salaries, 102, 144. Administrative assistants, that's the assistant treasurer and the assistant collector, 99,972. They are both on steps. Clerical salaries, 127, $8, and that is for the 3 new principal clerks, and they're all on steps. Longevity is $250. The certification stipend of $1,000, that's for this my certification. Professional services, we have $22,000. That's up a little bit from last year. We are trying to get the schools to do more online payments, which we pick up the 25 cents per transaction. Right now, we have a pilot program going on with the middle school for Nature's Classroom, trying to minimize the amount of cash and checks floating around the school, so that seems to be working. And we're going to continue that, hopefully, with field trips. Foreclosure and legal is $22,453. Communications, $12,500. That's for our telephone and the tax title ad and postage. Office supplies remains at $5,000. Professional development is up from last year to $3,500. And that's because 3 of us need to go to Amherst this year for the annual treasure collector school. For a total budget online of $393,827.
Okay, we'll start with Mr. Alfred this time.
Nope, I'm good.
Mr. Sparrow?
You answered my questions in your presentation, so thank you.
Okay, Mr. Maxwell?
Thank you.
We'll be really easy tonight. Ms. Zimmer?
Nothing, thank you.
Mr.
I
Murphy?
do have a question.
All right, break the speed.
Yes. Would it be advantageous for us to pick up the fee for the credit cards, so that way we don't have checks floating around?
Well, it depends what kind of, depends what they're using the credit card for. For the real estate, that is all handled through the bank. So if you pay online and you use your credit card, that is a bank fee that doesn't touch us at all.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking of all the checks and dog licenses and all the other things.
Well, I'm not sure they can pay by credit card with their dog licenses. Then
Okay.
again, that's through Unibank, and that's a bank fee. The only credit card fee is through the Square program that the Park and Rec uses. So right now, they give us their net fees. And hopefully the Square we're going to be turning on at the schools too. They understand to use that Square account, that they're responsible for that fee.
Okay. No, I'm just thinking from the point of view of
Mhm.
making it more efficient, plus the fact less checks floating around, checks getting lost, and
We're
so,
trying to the school has a lot of money floating around.
sure they do.
They come in on field trips, the $4 checks
Yeah.
this thick, and,
So now I'm going to start getting text messages
Yep.
about that.
well.
Well, athletic
I know what you
fees,
mean.
right?
What?
Athletic
Athletic
fees.
fees, bus
Right,
fees,
right.
you know, that's why we're trying the pilot school with the middle school, because of Nature's Classroom. Those are large checks, and there's almost close to 600 kids, they've told me.
Mhm.
So we've offered that online, just to see how it works, make sure that is okay with the schools, it works for them, and it works for us.
So how's the fee gonna work for that?
I'm picking up the 25 cents per transaction when they pay online.
You are.
Mhm.
That's why the budget's up a little
Okay.
bit.
Yeah.
That's a high number, based on what we saw the other day in terms of numbers from the schools. I think that's total for the middle school.
For Nature's Classroom,
Yeah, I think that was total, 600, maybe.
600 kids.
Do you remember what they were?
They gave me a rough
Seemed
number, there's about
right. Maybe
600
I could
sixth
be
graders
wrong.
that go
Maybe
up
I'm
to Nature's
misremembering.
Classroom.
About 190 kids in 6th grade.
Is that-
That's it?
Yeah, I was gonna
Between
say,
190 and 200.
it's not 600, because we don't have that
Probably
big of a.
600 transactions, 'cause there's a deposit.
Maybe because,
Oh.
yeah,
That-
maybe.
That could be, yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense.
I counted some more.
So where you put it? Just from,
Professional
Yeah, I was
services.
going to say it's the 545 increase there.
you're putting under professional services?
Mhm.
Okay.
Because it is a purchase service, and I
Right.
guess it's yeah. Look,
It's not
I-
really, it's
look,
not, it's not communication, it's not legal, it's,
How about credit card fees? That-
Look, it's still called personal services, so, you know, what do you expect?
We don't need
It's
a
professional
bajillion
service.
lines. I just knocked these- this
Huh?
chart
Yeah, I
out
threw it under
from
other expenses,
9,000 to
but-
6,000.
I added them all up when we were there.
It's only one grade goes at a
But,
time, right?
I mean, if it grows, I
Yeah,
would
it's
suggest,
sixth grade.
200.
Yeah.
And this probably is multiple transactions, like for the.
Yeah, and they
Yeah, I
can
think
make,
that's
they
it.
can, like Mike said, they have the deposit, and they can make
Yep.
sporadic payments. They, pretty much as long as they're paid up by the time they go, I think the kids are good.
okay. That's
Like I
it.
said, we're trying.
Mr. Session.
Just two questions. So the appropriated amount is off from our spreadsheet again by,
Which line item?
it's appropriated fiscal 2020, and I apologize, I don't have my glasses, so I'm struggling. Does it say 389?
389.
329.
Yeah, 389.
Oh, total, yeah,
389,
389.
928.
Okay, and in our spreadsheet, it says 383,406. So I'm just,
That's
is
the-
there,
That's the
Salaries?
salary delta again.
okay,
I'm
but
guessing.
I thought she said that everything was steps, so,
No, no,
Not
no, no,
hers.
but the
Mine is
adjustment to
not
her
as
salary. What I'm saying is that's reflective.
okay,
What-
so maybe I had
you are correct.
administrative salary and administrative assistant as, and I wrote down steps for the two of them.
The
So-
administrative assistants and the clerical salaries have steps.
Right.
Got
She's
it,
the
okay.
administrative
On the-
salary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay.
I misnoted it then. Okay,
Right, and then
that's fine
I'll
then.
just clarify, in case anybody's looking at these budgets at home, right? Technically, the town did not appropriate the money to these individual departments.
No.
Okay? So the amounts that we're seeing under appropriated fiscal 20 that reflect the adjustment that the select board made is actually incorrect. Because
Right.
on a department level basis, that was not the act, that was not
Right.
the.
Yeah, so what is gonna be shown on the warrant?
Right? So we should fix that on the warrant, and we should, I mean, in the omnibus, and we don't have to fix it going for, I'm just saying that we don't want to misrepresent what was appropriated last year, right? So,
Right, because it's in the
Right, it
You're saying
salary
it can't be
adjustment.
it was in the adjustment for salaries account, which is in the benefits budget,
Correct.
so,
So,
sorry, just.
I'm not sure why I'm not sure why we're looking at it like this to begin with.
No, I know, but
Well,
I'm saying we know
so-
what's
No, I know,
happening.
but-
I'm saying when
So
we present
Ken-
it to the town, it's gotta be presented accurately. That was
So-
not what was appropriated last year.
So we've seen a number of them, right? in
Yes,
our
everyone's
last-
that way.
So, well, that had a change, right?
Okay.
Some of them haven't had changes.
Correct, right.
Could we fix the rest so I don't have to keep going back? I mean, I'm gonna time in anyway, but so that we don't have to keep going back and I have to figure out what the delta is and make sure it's actually
Well-
that and there's not a mistake.
Well,
and-
if we do that, it won't be for 2 weeks because she already sent out next week's budgets,
Yeah,
right? They're
I
gonna
have them,
that,
yep.
So, that's what I'm saying, so.
She
But
also
if we could
looks
fix
like
the
she
rest, that
wants
would
to-
be, I think that
Wants
would
to
be
kill us,
helpful.
but that's,
Okay, so that was helpful. I misheard, so that's why I was asking. And then, is there a need to send 3 people to the training versus 1?
I have to go to keep my certification,
Yep.
and the 2 clerks are on, 2 assistant, the assistant treasurer and assistant collector are on their way to getting certified.
Got it, okay.
Do we need to have someone certified in the office at all times?
It should be. It gives them the knowledge they need to do the job. If I happen to step away, they should be able to pick up, and this school helps do that. It gives them, it fine tunes them. They know why they do things, but this gives them the laws and the knowledge to really do a good job.
Just making sure, I mean, it makes sense to have redundancy,
Right.
obviously.
Well, and succession planning too, right? I mean, I think that's probably beneficial.
Oh, just, and we do let Mary out once in a while, right?
Sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. That's all I can say.
well, I just want to tell you that I'm not going to vote to approve this until you do an investigation of Mr. Maxwell here about his. No, I'm just kidding.
That's what?
See, she got that joke. So, but,
Oh, I actually did have a question for
yes,
you.
go ahead.
Hold on. Sue and I went last week to the strategic improvement initiatives at the school.
Oh, that's fancy.
And I know, fancy schmancy. They use staples and everything.
But 2 of them,
The schools did. And one of the things that Brad was asking for was a human resource director.
Oh, I would love to have one of those.
Okay,
Really
so,
would like
so
to
my,
have one of
my
those.
question is, and I know this, you're not prepared, you know what I mean, I'm putting you on the spot here.
That's okay.
And
Go
it's
for it.
actually a question for Jeff and the select board and everything. But isn't that something that should be town and not just
It should be combined.
school? Okay, that was my question. Okay, it's just something for everyone to be thinking about.
Right, because the schools does their hiring, all new employees, filter through the treasurer's office, to fill out their onboarding paperwork and all their benefits. We do all the deductions, we do the payroll. When they retire, they go back through the same process. So we spend a lot of time doing administrative HR things for the schools.
Right, I mean, because a
So-
lot of that is done through through
Right.
you. Okay, I just wanted to.
Yes, an HR position would be a nice position to share between the town and the school.
Okay, I just wanted to know how much,
I would prefer an HR director to a,
okay. I just,
sorry.
okay, I just wanted, while you
Just
were there,
saying.
just saying. I
Nice
just,
too.
I just wanted to ask you while you were there. I didn't mean to put you on the
Nope,
spot.
that's
Okay,
Nope, I'm fine with that.
okay.
Okay, so I'm good with the treasurer collector part of this. I know this budget well, so, okay, so we can move on to part
The
two.
budget. Professional services, $4,000. That's for the continuing disclosure that we have to file each March. Principal long-term debt is $2,750,000. Interest on the long-term debt is $302,118. General interest is $2,500, and that is interest we may have to pay out on a pellet tax board case.
When do we expect it to be resolved?
Well, we put it out there. Sometimes we use it, sometimes we don't.
Oh,
You never
okay,
know.
okay, so it's not a specific case?
It's not a specific
Okay.
case, it's just
I
in case.
thought you meant there was some
No,
specific
just
case we
in
were-
case we have to pay.
Okay.
For a total of $3,058,618.
See, this is my kind of budget, down 2.2 million from last year.
So the expiring debt looks like it was
Well,
cheaper debt than
It's the fire station
Case, we
disappeared,
have to have a lawsuit.
the fire station matured, Placentino matured, and
No, sorry.
this sewer SRF loan matured.
I'm just saying it's probably cheaper debt because if the debt payments are down 43%, but the interest is only down 35%.
Partly for that and partly for filing.
It's just unfortunate. that-
Yeah, it's just the way they
Yeah.
it was structured. When we were doing the schools, we were,
I'm just trying to temper Ken's enthusiasm.
okay.
What? This is what I was telling the town.
Our
It was
average
the $2
debt-
million. That's
But
what I
average
said,
debt
FY
cost,
21.
our average debt cost is higher though now.
That'd be that way. Okay, so anybody, I'll just let the floor open on this one because this is obviously a simple. do you have any
I just,
questions?
the only variable cost in here is the first line item, it's
Continuing disclosure?
the professional services.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only flex, okay. Everything else you can calculate,
Oh,
there's no variable interest or anything like that on this, okay.
I do have a question. And this is probably just because I'm an idiot, but thanks for laughing at that. So I'm looking at the long-term debt schedule from the FinCom report in May, and it's like a lot different than the 3 million. And I'm just kind of trying to understand what the difference is between.
Well,
what's
keep in
here.
mind,
You mean this
the
one?
debt budget and the debt schedule are not identical because this has the things like the continuing disclosure costs and
Right.
things like that.
But they're not even, that they're off by, it's a lot. That's why, I mean, normally I would say absolutely, I mean, a couple $1,000s, but,
So I guess,
The-
which one are you looking at in May?
so I'm looking at the long-term debt schedule. It's page 40 of the final FinCom report. I'm happy to
You
show it
mean
to you. if
like
you'd
this
to see
one?
it. Yes.
Okay.
And I'm just trying to understand, and it might just be, like I said, I might just be an idiot. But the 2021,
Oh, this has water in it.
okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay.
That's what I want to
There you
know.
go.
Thank you.
You idiot. No, I'm just kidding.
That's all I need
I
to
was
do.
like, wait a minute, I went over this like several
Right,
times.
so I was gonna say, I'm
No,
not sure you didn't get it wrong.
I trust
know I
you,
look at
but
a lot of
but I'm
numbers,
just,
but
like,
it's
just
like-
for my own purposes, I'm just trying to figure out why it's different, so.
Well, you gave me a mini heart
You have
attack.
something
No,
to
that's
say?
okay. That's it.
So, how much revenue is declining, the reimbursements from the state that's offsetting this? Because this is not obviously all dropping.
Okay, well, well, you see, that's the MSBA reimbursement.
Is one,
Okay.
is 951,000.
So it is dropping, right?
Right.
The
So the one, we used to get like 1.2, I think it was, for Placentino. That's done when the debt is done.
Right.
Right, but how much, so it's,
There's a net win because we were being reimbursed at what, 68%? What was the, right?
I think it was 68% back
that.
then.
okay.
So we lose that reimbursement.
Yeah, I should ask another question. How much of this is outside the levy
That's the
limit?
question,
and-
right?
yeah.
That's what I was going to ask her is how
Okay.
much is outside and how much is inside?
She's got to go back to the other schedule.
So we're down 300,000 or so from in state reimbursement,
I
right?
didn't bring a calculator.
No, we're going to be down like 1.2 million.
So
but we're also gonna be
the
down
things that are
3
outside,
something million in payment.
do you want inside or outside the debt? Pick which one do you want?
What is the benefit to the bottom line of the budget from the reduction in debt? So, everything netting together.
That I can It's not straight that full amount, but I can tell you what it is. Hold
It's
on.
not nearly that amount.
So in
No, no, but
FY
it's in that
'20,
thing.
we had a $2.1 million payment for the elementary school with an SBAB reimbursement of $1.2 million. That's going.
Right.
Right, so that's the math. That delta.
And the
Nine
No,
sewer,
hundred-
that's a limit.
900,000?
But then there's-
the sewer SRF was like
Oh.
10,000.
So there's
From last year.
1.7 million for the high school and middle school. And how much, and then there's with the 950,000.
The,
There's like 30,000 for the fire station.
Right,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying what is being, to his point, is that what's the offset?
the impact to the operating budget of the expiration of the outside the levy limit debt is nothing,
Right,
right?
right.
It's the inside, if you're saying but to the taxpayers, there's a reduction because that
Sure,
piece
sure,
of their
but I'm talking
taxes that
about
was
reduces
excluded,
how
that
much-
is gone.
What is the benefit to the bottom line of our sort of theoretical expendable revenue?
It doesn't change much at all.
It's like $30,000 for the fire department or something, for the fire.
Yeah, it's whatever was inside that expired,
Yeah,
there are a
that's
couple of small
inside,
things,
yep.
yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'm just saying that it's great that this is down. $2
Inside,
million.
and next year will be the
That-
golf course.
That would help everyone's taxes, but.
Correct,
That's
correct.
that's not money that's there to be spent on
Right,
on
if
operating
your
budgets.
question is, does this give us more money to spend, the answer is no, and that's what
I'm
I
just
said in
making
October.
sure that that's,
No,
out
and
there
that's,
for-
that's,
for the-
that's what I said in
for the one
October, and I'll
person
say it
watching.
again now if you want, which is that expiration of debt outside the levy limit does nothing but reduces your property tax bill, but has no
Which is
impact
wonderful.
to the operating budget.
Yeah, it
No,
gives
no
taxpayers
measurable impact, no
relief,
significant impact.
finally,
Yeah.
after a long
So,
time.
so it just means that you're paying less in taxes, but operationally, we don't have any additional available revenue for operations.
Right, because there's all that time.
So, anything else, Mr. Alford?
nope.
Okay. So that was my question, was, but how many more years do we have inside the levy debt? It's only like 2 more years, right?
The longest one is, I believe, fire station, which is 2029.
Oh, 2029.
Damn it.
Okay.
The fire station.
I was gonna
Not the
say,
fire station, I'm sorry, the police station.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry, police.
That's
Fire's
inside?
maturing.
That was
Fire's
excluded.
outside.
That's outside,
No, I said,
Fire.
when are we gonna be done with inside?
side 2021.
Okay, that's what I thought. As I said, I knew we were, so at that point, any favorability from the debt reduction is just a tax reduction at that point.
Remember, we looked at that the other day.
Yeah,
with the
that's why I was saying I knew it
2023,
was, you know,
Right, the outside equaled pretty much the debt budget.
yep. So, okay, okay, you're all set?
All set?
Thank you.
You're welcome. Do you want this, Dan, just in case?
Nah.
I mean, we have all this stuff, it's all,
Yeah.
Okay. Just checking.
okay, Sharon. Okay, no, I was just looking at the budget. I was looking at your clerk, and I realized you split it because she steps in the middle of the year.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, good.
So, pretty straightforward. My salary, clerk salary, savings this year because new clerk, so she's starting obviously on a lower step than my previous one. The good thing is the audit did not increase. It's
Alright.
flat from last year, and I think we have one more year at 32, so. Then when they renewed it, they gave us 3 years flat, so I think we got one more year at that.
Ooh, that actually reminds me,
Yes.
this is 2020, so will our OPEB audit be on 20 or 21? Right, so is that included, where's that, is that in your budget or hers?
Mine?
Okay,
It's in the benefit budget.
Oh,
okay, I was just saying, because I was just thinking we gotta make sure we have that covered since
Right,
everybody.
in the benefits budget is the money for OPEB, actuarial costs, and the cost for a consultant,
Okay,
for health insurance.
okay, just have to remember that. Okay, continue, sorry.
Okay, and, office supplies and professional development are level funded. Nothing very fun and exciting.
Okay. Ms. Nersessian?
The only question I have is we had talked about either last year or the year before about trying to get some efficiencies on office supplies to buy sort of centrally. Do you know if that's happened?
I think more people, I don't know that we've centralized. I know a lot more people now are going through Amazon as opposed to WB Mason, because it's cheaper. I know we've jumped on with the school for our paper. So we made a huge purchase at the beginning of the year and bundled that with the school. Past that, I'm not sure we've done that. I know we're using Amazon way more than we're using WB Mason.
Okay, thank you.
Well, is that okay? I mean, should be, but I'm saying, remember in the past, you've said that there are sometimes we get volume discounts, things like that. Are we sure that we're not?
I still think most of the time Amazon's going to beat
Okay, no, that's what I just want to make sure we're not.
WB Mason.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Mr. Murphy?
Nothing.
Okay, Ms. Zemer?
Nothing, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Maxwell?
Nothing, thank you.
How's Burisma? No, just kidding. Mr. Sparrow?
No, I have no questions. Thank you very much.
Okay,
Let's talk
Mr.
about
Alfred?
Prisma. What, no, I'm good.
Okay, yeah, this is pretty straightforward, so,
Yeah.
okay. Okay, you're all set.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple of things we need to discuss. Item number one is did everybody read my guideline setting document that we need for the one to look at? I added one thing in there. Mr. Sparrow suggested that I mentioned the new growth thing, which I should have mentioned in there, so I added one.
The 325,000.
Yes, I basically added, and I will read you what I wrote. I wrote, I inserted D and bumped everything down to say estimated prior year new growth. Given the sensitivity of building construction to economic conditions, new growth can vary significantly year to year and can change quickly. For this reason, the Finance Committee takes a low-water approach, modeling new growth as $325,000 annually.
And you added something in on the select board that we discussed last week.
Oh, did I? Yes, I did. I think I wrote it down but never added it into the document.
Okay.
So let me.
I didn't relook at it just
Yeah,
because
no,
I
didn't.
had already looked
I
at
didn't
it.
resend it out.
What was it, Sue?
Just to, that we collaborate or
Yeah.
that, that we
Talked
have
about it
discussions with the select board,
Yes.
or at least notify or something to that effect. It just wasn't in there, and I thought
I
it
know, I'm
should
just
be.
going to put it out. I don't remember where I'm going to put it. But okay, I'll take care of that. Did anybody else read it and have any comments? Does it look good? Okay, there's. Oh, hold on, just let me make the change for you. Okay.
We don't have to vote on that, do we? Or do
We don't have to, but we can if we want to. Everybody's fine with it. We can just vote on it and make it official in case they want an official adoption of it.
That's
Is that the
good.
budgetary
Yes.
assumption?
Yes. Okay.
I'm making a
So-
motion to adopt the budgetary guideline as amended.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on that? Proceed to vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. 0 abstentions. Okay. Now, the other thing was the ledger projection. I don't know if anybody took a look at that. It actually looks a little rosier than, on purpose, because I said it's, I wouldn't say on purpose, but I'm saying like when the projections are just that, projections. So we're projecting, kind of steady growth and steady budget growth. It all depends on what parameters you put in. If you look at what I put in there, you see a low this year, and then it kind of jumps up and then jumps down. And the reason it jumps up is simply because it's based on run rates from the 2021 project. In other words, 2021 is tied to our budget planning process model now, so that reflects the most accurate information. And then the projection in the 5 years going forward just uses the adjustments in the CAGRs from the different line items, as well as whatever, you see the parameters I put in there. So it shows us what I wouldn't say it shows a bottom line balanced budget, with some, but of course it's subject to a lot of economic uncertainty, and so I try to temper certain things down there to make them more realistic. The way to look at it is that it combines the natural growth, so to speak, and the property tax at a maximum rate. So the fact that the bottom line shows a positive number is not indicative of, it's indicative of good financial health, and that means that we have the ability within our tax constraints to meet these projections. But what it doesn't capture is that we don't need to do that on a year-to-year basis, right? This gets back to the discussion we've had on former committees about when we develop our budget model. There are years where we try to leave more on the bottom line in the spreadsheet and in the model, intentionally, because that delta represents the difference between the maximum levy and what we actually have to levy to cover our expenses, right? We should be spending what we need to spend, not just spending every dime that we possibly can raise, right? So that's why I said in this projection, it shows some surplus there because it assumes maximal growth in the tax base.
And the other thing is too, is that the actuals include things like stabilization, and there were like the times that we've been over in capital and things like that, so that favorability was
Right.
spent in those places.
Right. In fact, I want to make sure, now you remind me that, I want to make sure I put that in here. Oh yeah, that's the other thing I didn't do, I'm glad you mentioned that. So it's the capital expenditure fund.
Yeah, speaking of capital, it looks like it's low, it's only 2 million.
Yeah,
But
well, that's why I
Run
said-
rate's a lot higher, and
So that's what I'm saying, so I'm going to change that. I got to make sure I put the right number of zeros in here. So I'll raise it by 200K a year.
it's still not.
I mean, you want me to go up higher than that?
Well, I'm just thinking.
It's not, it'll.
What's our,
Well, we know it's got to be more than 3 million. We've been running about 3 million.
I would
you know.
use the same run rate then.
yeah,
I mean, I don't see that,
going down?
I don't see
Well-
that declining, given some of the things that, even what we saw on the list that was sent out to the
In the
reps.
last 4 years, the run rate's 2.86 million.
Yeah, so, okay, well, let me put it this way. You can ramp it up at 200,000 per year, and then it gets to 3 million after 5 years.
If we're doing 3
And the other thing to keep in
2.8.
mind, though, with that, what's put in the expenditure fund is that we haven't spent all that. That's not all spending, that's what's been pushed
Right,
into
right,
that fund.
but the other thing to keep in mind is that this projection does not include the free cash contribution.
Right.
So that's why I said, you know, if we were spending 3 million, and over time, our reliance on that free cash for that purpose will diminish as we raise it to where we need to be at.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay? So if you do that, if you ramp it up 200K a year for the 5-year projection, then we're in deficit after year 3, okay?
But I don't
Which,
think we want to do that.
which
Yeah.
is okay. I mean, that's what I said. I mean, it
That's
is what our
what-
projection,
Yeah, projection.
the whole point of this discussion is to make the projection, you know,
Right.
somewhat accurate, so. But then then it goes from about 1 million in 1 year out, and then it drops a lot in 2023, which I don't quite know why it drops that much, but
I think these are discussions we should have. I mean,
Yeah.
not necessarily here, not now.
well, we have to decide, this is one of the things that Mary needs for her meeting on the 5th.
Well,
I might not go quite as aggressive, I guess.
yeah,
On the Capitol?
in that case. But I think it's decisions and things we need to think about and be aware of, and
Yeah, no, and.
Because we've had the same run rate and we haven't gone into deficit yet, so there's other ways to sort of manage that if
Correct.
need be, and so I just don't want to, I think it would be ill-advised to show a deficit when we really
Right.
don't expect to have that, and then that has an impact on how we truly look.
Yep, no,
Can I ask a question?
go right ahead.
So the number you're putting in capital expenditure, is that what you expect to have after you've added free cash and spent from it?
no.
No, that's,
So that's the problem.
That's the problem we're
discussing
discussing.
right
Well,
now.
Right.
So we have to explain it to S&P, that's why I'm trying to just get a sense.
well,
of-
because free cash is volatile,
Right.
we have a certain amount that's put in regardless of the free cash amount.
But-
Then when we see free cash, we can supplement it with that. So what I just did, just for the calculation purposes, I ramped it down to 100,000 a year. So I went from 2 to 2.5 over 5 years, right? Then we show the surplus all those years. And if if our run rate on capital is 3 million, then the explanation, which is the right one, right? It's not making something up, is that the gap between what we're appropriating from here versus the run rate of the capital is made up right now at free cash, and we're eliminating that reliance over time.
But wouldn't it make sense, like, if we're gonna do a forecast, do you think we should maybe do something like, our financial policies are to go to 3 to 5% of omnibus? Shouldn't we sort of put it towards something like either run rate, or we put it towards like the expected capital investment should be like 3 to 5%, like if we say 4% of omnibus, something like that, to sort of keep it based on something?
So you
Something
mean
like that one?
change it to be an actual percentage of the?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'm just thinking, because I mean,
Well, we're not there yet. That's exactly what we're discussing, right?
Right.
The issue is that, just like, years ago, when we eliminated free cash from the operating budget, we did it over a 5-year period, right?
Right.
So we have our policy and we're building towards that. But I think if we show in the projection that we just jump right to where we want to be, then we're going to show big changes on the
Let's
bottom
just
line.
see, just out of curiosity, what that looks
I mean, you can see, right, the total, well, let me see, I'd have to see what the omnibus looks like. Looks like, well, we don't have the, do we have the total? No, we don't, but it's, but you can back it out, right?
I
It's
can
about
back it, well, yeah,
64.
it's just, I can.
It's about 64, you know, you look at these years, 64, 60, it grows, obviously,
Hold
but
on,
I'm
let
saying
me-
that.
I'll do it, I'll just.
So all I'm saying is it's above 60, so 5% is, 3+ million.
Well, if we said 4. that's what-
It would drop, meaning
What?
it would be higher by 3 point,
No, I'm saying that right now, we've got 2 million, 2.1, 2.2, all the way up to 2.5, right? What I'm saying is if you took the out,
If you took that, it would jump in 2022 to 2.6, but then it would stay around there because the omnibus
is then not growing, right?
is not growing at a significant
Right,
rate.
but
It'd
at
be
2
2.6 in 2022 and 2.8 in 2026.
And look at what our bottom line would be, though.
It would be in deficit by $272,000.
Right, and that's what I'm saying, is I don't think that.
we wanna go
I don't think
there.
we want to go that route, because we don't, realistically, we don't expect that to be the case. First of all, for two reasons. One is that we wouldn't allow that to be the case, right?
Right, no, we
So-
wouldn't, absolutely.
So why show, to my point, we should have a surplus on the bottom line, because we would never project that we're going to allow a deficit at all.
Mm-hmm.
So-
Okay.
And that's why I said to you, so the explanation from the S&P standpoint, which is accurate, is we're building towards this policy objective.
Okay.
And that's taking time, so we model it out like this.
Okay.
But,
I'm saying actually, like, if we did
but-
try to hit $3 million by 2026, we'd be over we'd be ahead of where we would.
Yeah, but the other thing to realize is that we also, this is a projection, but we're also opportunistic, and I think that's a very important point to make, right? We've been opportunistic about supplementing with free cash. We would be opportunistic if we had budgetary savings elsewhere to getting, I mean, that's how we've gotten to our policy objectives over time, right? We have the objective, and then we have opportunistic ways to accelerate that, we do.
So is anyone going to be available next Tuesday, me and Sharon, so we can go over this, so we can actually try to.
What time's the meeting on Tuesday?
We're meeting with S&P on
Oh.
10 o'clock on,
I might be around, because
On
I might
Wednesday?
have a meeting.
Oh,
with-
next Tuesday, yeah, I mean,
so if we can go over it, so
I-
two of us can try to explain it, see if we can.
yes, that's fine.
I might be-
Tuesday.
but
Tuesday
Ken, you're
evening?
gonna be attending the meeting, correct?
No.
Okay.
We'll
all
talk about
is-
that, but-
Okay, is
but-
someone from the select board gonna be there?
Oh, no. It's the town administrator, the town accountant, the assessor.
So we did it last time.
Yeah.
Well, just because we did it last time one way doesn't mean we can't do it a different way the next time.
Right, aren't
That's
we,
correct.
aren't
You
aren't
mean
we trying to
you're-
move
For
it up?
a long time, we only used horse and buggies.
Yes.
Right?
And then,
Yes.
Right.
Ken, can I interrupt for 1 second? Is it possible that you could put it up on the screen? The cord is right there on the, next to the mic. If you plug it in, the screen's up and running.
Well, what if I have something I don't want you to see on there? Where's is it right next to me?
It's right next to Ben.
Right
Just
next to
close all
Ben.
your other browsers, Ken.
Wow.
What do you think I'm doing up here? It should be on this side. Oh, it's right there, okay, I see it.
Problem I ran into is I didn't have the HDMI.
I have
that's all
HDMI on this computer. This laptop's very old.
Thank you.
Let's see, do I have
Sharon,
HDMI? I think I do.
all right, I think I'll be around on Tuesday. I might be
Okay.
meeting with the chief and Sean, maybe Tuesday. We'll see if that works. If that works that day, then
Sorry.
maybe
Gotta hide my picture of Tina with the dartboard.
Oh, my God.
I brought my laptop too, Ken.
Okay, but, let's see. Shouldn't be sharing automatically, but why is it not?
Because it takes forever.
Okay,
Yep.
let's get a chance here. Where's
This
the-
guy's ready, it's just a matter of.
No, I'm saying it's, gotta search for the, give it one more shot here and see if it finds it.
This is the problem I ran into last time.
Okay. hold on. Okay, I have that on. Should be on. It says I'm duplicating my screen.
Do we
Wow.
need to approve this?
Yes, this is something we would need to approve.
Was there anything else that anybody else wanted to comment on, I guess?
Oh, just that, I think it's something we need to look at
Yeah, I
on a
agree.
regular basis and probably in the summer.
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
I
we
and
agree
that's,
should
with
do
that
rather than-
100%.
that's what I think.
So I
we-
think this is a good start.
Right, well, I was gonna say, what I think we'll do is we'll start incorporating this part as
Yep.
part of the model development
Yep.
from the fall. So,
So,
okay.
I'm not saying that
Well,
we
it
can't
says
pull
I'm-
it
I
up,
was
but
gonna say, I'm
can
saying
we approve it and
Yes,
continue? And then when it comes
That's
up,
fine.
we
If
can
everybody's looked
talk
at it
about
and we're fine with it, and as I
Did you
said,
guys
with-
have comments that you wanted to make before we approve it?
You want to see it?
They haven't seen it.
We haven't
yeah.
seen it.
So they want to look at it.
So, but we can as I said, I just,
We don't have to look at it now, as long as someone can bring it Tuesday and.
yes,
we can
yes.
see it.
Well, I'll give it to
So we
you,
can
I'll
go
give it to you
over
after we approve it. and
I'm happy to sit with you on Tuesday.
And then I'll send out, I mean, as I said, all I did was change that capital to 100,000 per year increase. So it shows us declining in, it's surplus, but a declining surplus, which is.
Does it always do this? Just keep searching?
Yes, it's just,
Good.
well,
The
as I
same thing
said,
happened to me.
I
We
was
couldn't
concerned it was
find
my
the-
PC, but it's not. My PC says it's sharing on both things. So.
I ran into the same problem. Are you plugged in with USB or HDMI?
Oh, okay, I got the HDMI right here, unless it's not plugged in or something, which I didn't check the other end of it, so I assumed, maybe wrongly, that it's.
Well, it wouldn't say searching, would it?
Well, no, no, it's searching, even if it's attached,
HDMI just came up.
Yeah, but it's.
yeah, but it's
that's
it's
also
going,
the-
it's.
what's the cable
it's
that's going into
scanning
the
through
slide
its inputs to
projector?
try to
It's
find a
the
signal,
HDMI, it gets
that's
it
what it's
something.
doing.
This is the problem we ran into last time.
As I said, check under the table again, see if it's, I can't move too far because I'm wired.
I didn't mean to.
You're just throwing everything in here.
See, now, we'll just point out that the select board made our meeting terribly inefficient.
I'm not
Well, a member of the select board.
A member of the select board, right. Now, okay, so is everybody fine with the adjusted spreadsheet?
Yep.
If so, then I'll entertain a motion to approve
So
the
moved.
ledger projection.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion on the ledger projection?
Who made the motion? Was it Dan?
Yep.
Dan, and then for a second, that was
Either
Sue and
Tim.
Tim, and one of, whichever one you want.
Hey, Sue, I heard she's next to me, so
Okay.
she gets to be
Okay, any
noticed.
further discussion on that?
Nope.
Let's proceed to a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Zero abstentions. Okay, so we have the two things for you. We have, do you want to talk anything about the capital stuff? Have you been working with Mary on that? 'Cause that's the last piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, so I had sent it to Mary and Sharon for some feedback, and I sent it to everybody. Apologies that it was this afternoon. And basically, the source of some of the data is from the Collins Center and the work that they put into it to gain some of the projects. Not all departments have updated it since working with the Collins Center. There were a few that have, and I put the schools, what they gave us in the fall, because the schools was kind of in the air anyway, because they weren't sure if they're gonna get the new school or what was going to happen there, so they didn't necessarily know what should be funded and what shouldn't be. But in any event, that's gonna need to be further addressed. I've met personally with Sean to go over all his stuff. There certainly are pieces in there that aren't necessarily capital items that are going to be spent, like for example the water towers, but they're in there just so we kind of have an idea of like how much does it cost, how old are they, just so we have an idea of like some of the assets that are in there. And excuse me, I've also met with Chief Cassidy about his departments as well. I consolidated some columns, so there's a lot of hidden columns in there. I did not delete columns, I just compressed them. So, as Tim can see, when you blow them up, there's a lot there. So.
Ben, you started with the latest and greatest that we started working with as a collective group.
Mhm.
Okay, just to make
Yes.
sure, because we had made updates from what the Collins Center had, so.
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Okay.
And Vin and I met with Park and Rec the other day, and they don't have anything to update at this point.
But what
because
is,
they're gonna
do
go.
they, is what is in there accurate to?
No.
Well, so, at the time, they were still going through the process to get their consultant to give them the plan.
Sure. Yep.
That came in recently, and so now we need to sit down with them and go through an update for what they want to
Okay.
do going forward.
Okay.
And then the senior center, still has the 50-some-odd thousand, which some of it was real capital, some of it wasn't.
Well,
so-
I left some of it in there. I believe that there should be a note there that says, it could be paid for out of, not necessarily out of capital. Some
Right.
of these are asset improvements.
Yeah.
So there could be multiple funding sources, like for example, there's streets and roads and things like that, but that's not something we're paying for out of capital.
Yeah.
I left it in there,
That's
basically. And you can let me know about parks if you want to get the list from them and give it to me. You want me at the meeting, take notes,
No, that's
whatever,
okay.
whatever works for you. You just let me know.
We
and-
can get it, and then we can do the updates.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay. The only question I had, Ben, was on the, let me pull it up here, on the rail trail. We had the 400,000 for development, Blair Square Park and did we approve that in October? I couldn't remember whether we did that.
Yeah, they were supposed to do it last spring. We were told they had to get started, and then it was
Right.
delayed. So I think that's for this. I think we were then in the fall, we asked, and they said this spring.
Okay,
But
well, I'm
there
just
was-
saying, no, I'm saying we did appropriate the money for that already, correct? Because it's listed as FY '20, that's why I want to
I
make sure.
don't think Blair Square.
That's
I
what
think
I
it
was.
was the one behind.
By, across from
Casey's.
Coffee
Okay,
Haven.
well, I think
Yeah.
that's what they're talking about,
Oh, that's
is
what
the
I thought
Blair
they were
Square.
talking
Oh,
about.
that whole entire,
But I'm trying to remember, I was
Some
just
of
trying
it
to
was a
refresh my
grant,
memory, like,
wasn't
did we
it?
do 400, I don't remember the
They were gonna go to
400,000.
So
CPC.
items in,
and a grant. Oh, they were gonna get a grant.
I
think
thought it
they
was the
did.
grant that they were getting.
Didn't they
but
get the grant?
maybe
I'm
we-
looking at,
I heard they
yeah.
were getting grants and getting donations.
yeah, so anything in green was appropriated. So if you look on the tabs,
Okay, that
if
was
there's
fine.
something in green, there was an appropriation that was made for the particular item. If there's nothing in green, it was not appropriated.
Okay, that was my quick, because I didn't think we had appropriated for that, that's why I
Right,
was.
so I
I
left
thought it was
everything as
grant.
is, I didn't change it, but, yeah, the stuff
Okay.
in green's been appropriated.
Yep, okay, that makes a lot more sense. Although, there's stuff in here that's not showing up as green that I know was appropriated, like the engine one. We did appropriate that in October. It's listed for this year. So I would all I would say to you is double check the
Okay.
FY '20 stuff to make sure we
Okay.
correctly
Yeah,
reflect what was.
I-
Because also, like the chief's vehicle and the pagers, all the fire stuff for '20 was appropriated.
yeah. I think the issue is, I think I did only put in one other, I'll check.
Okay, so
I'll double
just
check
to make sure that.
I will
coding is
double
accurate.
check it.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments on this one? Should we approve this one for?
I just have a comment. As someone who wasn't on the subcommittee, I'm just completely in awe of the amount of work you people, you three, put into this.
Well, it's also, a lot of Monica's help, but yeah.
Monica did a
And
lot
I'm
of it,
just,
yeah.
I'm really appreciative of the work you did on it. So
Yes.
thank you.
Well, double our salary next year.
So
Triple.
Thank you.
That's right, triple our salary.
Maybe we
Well-
could just take healthcare for life.
That's right, healthcare for life, that'd be fun.
Motion to approve the plan.
Okay, any further, first a second on that? Do you have any second?
Yes, second.
Okay. Any further discussion on approving the capital improvement plan master sheet? Okay, then, proceed to vote, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, 0 abstentions, okay.
I'll make those changes and send them to the
Yep.
secretary.
So
Yeah.
that,
And obviously the.
Yes, and we can go over this, I can, be here early next Tuesday or something, I think that shouldn't be a problem, so we can go over all this after the meeting.
Good idea.
Yep. Okay, hey, look, I told you I could be there, anyway. So, is there anything else? That was the last thing we had on our agenda, so we could be operating very efficiently tonight if we actually finish in an hour.
Can I,
Yes?
can I provide an update from the select board?
Oh, certainly.
30 seconds.
Sure.
30 seconds?
Otherwise, we're gonna miss the hour.
Is that the goal, coming on the?
Well,
It's always our goal.
Oh, is there?
Yes.
Do our job as efficiently as possible.
Just
That's right.
related to two things that came up tonight. Last
Mhm.
night, we had a discussion in new business at the end of our meeting on the proposed CFO position.
Mhm.
And so out of that conversation came an understanding that HR would be considered in the working group that's looking to develop the position. So the strategic initiatives from the school was presented that they're looking for FTE for HR. So that was presented as something to consider with
Mhm.
this new position. The idea that it's a CFO or assistant town administrator position also was discussed. So I just wanted to put that out there, that the working group to define and create the CFO position will be looking at HR for both the town employees, the town hall side, as well as the school side. So there's an awareness there that the schools are in need of HR as much as, or same as, or more so as town hall. So
Who's on this working group?
Jeff can help. It's John Cronin, it's Keith Boudet, I believe, Jeff, and then there's some Mary.
Me.
Mary- And Ben, right.
Has to be a working group because Ben can't be on a consultant.
Yeah.
So that's your working group.
And
So
the
that-
idea that the CFO would also have responsibility, at least for overseeing the school budget, like at least have some sort of role in it.
Can't do that.
No, of course, no, you can't, towns do. So the CFO would just be for the town side?
So there would be a dotted line, but, because they have to relate and get information, but not oversight.
I'm just speaking right
Right,
now,
well,
the
well,
HR piece of it.
Ultimately, the school committee has the statutory
Yeah.
oversight.
No, but at the same time,
I know what you're saying, and I think that that's not a problem. In other words, hiring a CFO that helps
Works.
oversee the school expanding. They just don't have the authority to
Sure.
make
yeah.
decisions.
Obviously.
Yeah. So,
So that was one update from last night. And then the other update was there was discussion about a tri-board meeting and the benefits of doing that in terms of the statement of interest that's coming from the school committee. And also the idea that we need to wait for the debt service model that Mary is creating. And so I do think that talk about returning taxes, reducing the tax rate, probably would be best served after we had a tri-board meeting on something like that, where we can look at a debt service schedule. But we did talk about that last night, and there are efforts underway to schedule
Right.
something like that.
well, just to be clear, right, we're not, there's policy discussion in terms of debt load we should have, what things we want to prioritize, so forth and so on. The discussion we were having about the tax rate is, it's not a decision to be made. We were just pointing out
It's happening.
that it happens. It's statutory, right? So, and that's because people have asked us about that, and because there's, you've heard me say at town meeting and elsewhere, right? There's a mistaken belief by some people in town that, okay, the school's paid off, so now there's a bag of cash sitting on
Right,
the
I
table. And so
understand, right.
we're just trying to be clear that this happens regardless of what we do, right? And as of December 1, it's happening for one project because that was paid off. So there's just, and there's also the typical confusion over when that actually shows up. So, you know, you see it in the debt budget in FY21. That's why, so people were surprised, you know, they reconciling what I said and what they just got in their tax bill. So, you know, it's a timing issue, but, okay.
So the discussion ended up that we were waiting for the debt service schedule from Mary that it'll be presented to the select board, and then after that, we'll look to schedule a tri-board meeting. Ideally, it would have come before the school committee would present their request for SOI to the select board, but we're not going to, I don't think we're going to end up tethering those two together. So that's sort of what the discussion was last night. So I just wanted to present that.
Okay, I have one quick question.
Yeah.
Which is with regards to the solid waste issue in businesses, I saw something about, and I didn't see the meeting, I just saw the article about the meeting. Said something about the trash district or business trash district. What is, can you, the reason I say this is because if creation of this district, it has a financial implication, then I would hope that it would have been discussed with us before you create the district, which
Right,
doesn't seem to have happened.
No, you're right on that. That
So-
did not happen. So what we did, and it was not intentional. So the discussion happened 2 weeks ago, and it was to create, like you say, a downtown trash district for small businesses within this corridor that really encompasses. Jeff can correct me if I'm wrong, but if I'm recalling my memory correctly, it starts right around School Street and then runs Washington down to East Holliston, down to the Bertucci's area, and then backs up a little bit to Woodland Street to kind of capture that corridor of small businesses. And so we are exploring the idea of bringing those businesses into the trash program by offering them the same program that we offer to residents, which would be the one 35-gallon trash cart and the one 64-gallon recycling cart.
So what is the definition of the district then, if you created a district?
Well, at this point, it's geographic.
Okay, so you just created okay, that's what I want to make sure of, right? I saw that and I was concerned that you had moved forward with something, and I was like, this is something where we definitely want to talk about what the implications are, because there are lots of, I know that I'm not saying for or against the option, but there are lots of, this is one of those things that has a lot of details that need to be worked out.
What would be the
You know.
concerns the Finance Committee would want to address?
Well, I'll tell you what my first concern was, exactly what you said, which is, okay, what's the policy with respect to, do they just get the same residential service where they get one 35-gallon can and one 64, right? If they need more, how is that handled? Do they pay, they're not entitled to, you couldn't sit there and say, okay, well, they pay taxes, so they get 3 times the trash of everybody else, right? So if it's something where you just say we're extending it to those, okay, there are questions like that. That's what I said from the financial side, which
Okay.
is we want to make sure that we're not obligating the town or creating, and there are other, we don't want to create an obligation that we're not fully comprehending. That's the bottom line.
Understood.
Would there be a charge to them?
So the intention has always been, and this has been discussion that we've had really since probably April or May,
Yeah,
is
no,
how
I
do
know
we
it's
bring
been
small
discussed.
businesses, if we're going to, how do we bring them into this trash program? In large part based on feedback that we've had from small businesses for the need, but it has always been that it would be the same as the residential program.
As the thing I told John, I'm very interested in finding out what other towns are actually
Right.
doing similar to us, because if other towns aren't offering this, then I see absolutely no reason for us to do it. I also think that there's probably better ways that the town's spending resources to attract small businesses town than to offering them 135-gallon trash can.
Well, that's-
a
that-
week of trash. I mean,
I just wonder, yeah, that's exactly, I wonder how
So-
useful that would be.
So
is
what's your
my point.
response going to be to the condos?
yeah, I mean,
So
they
that's
opened
been
up again.
explored.
It opened up a huge can of worms.
Or to a business like me that's
I know.
outside of the,
A corridor.
the corridor
You don't
that
count.
pays the
Your
same,
taxes are
but pays
different.
the same taxes.
Right, this is what I was talking about.
So this is a measured first step to address a concern that
Okay,
was
I
brought
have
before
a
the-
serious concern.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Well,
that's,
and what
that-
constitutes small
Well, so you might
versus,
have to
like, are there
choose yourself.
parameter, like, there's all
Right,
sorts of.
there
I
are
have
lots of-
serious concerns.
Well, there are
The
lots of-
condos,
Mhm.
businesses right outside the corridor, I just.
right, and there are also concerns about making sure that the pickup is done, for example, just a simple example is, do they have to put their trash barrels on Washington Street? Because if the trash truck has to go onto private property to get it, that raises a whole other concern, that kind of thing.
I mean, I'm happy to prepare the comments from meeting minutes to show that the deliberation, the discussion has taken place, that the efforts have been made to reach out to the condo community to say, are you interested? How do you feel about this? I mean, all this has taken place over the last few months, and I can certainly go through with Jeff and pull out those meeting minutes to demonstrate that that work has been done, those concerns have been addressed. I mean, you're never going to address everybody's concern to the fullest, but it's certainly not an oversight, exactly what
And
you're
the
saying.
condo associations aren't interested in it?
I'm not prepared to speak exactly to the response of every condo.
And
Condos
I'm.
are-
Did
We
respond.
said the work was done, so I just.
Yeah, sure.
I mean,
So then
I'm-
we should
and
know.
for-
We sent a letter to the condo, all the condo associations,
We-
and we got one positive response.
I'm talking about condo associations on public roads. I mean,
Right.
if a private road is a private road.
No,
is a
correct, and that's what we're
private
talking
road.
about as well, exactly.
But isn't a condo association a public road?
Well,
proceeding?
that's one of the
Right.
gotchas of this whole thing, right? A condo association says, okay, we do this, there would have to be all sorts of liability waivers and everything like that. Do the
Yeah.
trucks go on private property? What
Yeah.
happens to damage to the
Private
lots?
property is.
It seems like a very minor issue that's being, a lot of time is being spent on when there are a lot of other.
I agree.
pressing
But I have a
agree.
small business on a private, I have a small business on a public road.
So why shouldn't she get trash?
Why shouldn't I
agree
get
with her, right?
trash?
If the argument is that they're paying taxes, why would it be only for the downtown?
Right, so
But that's a select
I-
board issue, but that's.
To be honest, we've had these conversations, we had a public discussion where we invited the public in to share all of their comments. What we are now moving forward on
And I didn't
is-
get a letter asking my opinion, by
Right.
the way.
As a business owner.
As
not
a
not as a
business,
finance committee
as a
member.
business
Yes.
owner, right.
So, we don't have to belabor the
And,
point, but
well,
I think that.
We should know
you know,
that, we should understand the costs, right?
No,
The
that-
cost
that's
of
what my-
how many
my
small
original
businesses
comment
there
was
are,
just-
how many other businesses, because clearly we just keep adding more.
Yes.
How many condos, what's the cost of the potential
And-
condo?
Right, and
I mean, all of that should
and that
be-
was my original intent in raising this issue
And-
was,
And
I don't
I'm
want them
just,
to move
I'm
forward
not talking
without
about
talking about the
self-interest,
cost.
I'm talking as an attorney looking at it from a broader point.
Right, and we
I
just-
generate more garbage than would fit in that little thing. I have a dumpster, it's more economical for me. I'm just talking from a broader perspective.
Right, so we do have town council input on this about how to move forward. We followed town council's advice
Okay.
on how to move forward. That was part of our discussion on how we would create a small district, a small small business in the downtown area district. That was part of the decision. So if the FinCom would like to have those meeting minutes and see the discussion as it took
Well,
place.
actually,
and-
I think instead of minutes, I
Right.
think we need to be brought up into speed specifically about financial aspects.
exactly,
of the
that was my
Sure.
original
Yes,
intent,
no,
was
we've
these
asked-
subtle things.
I'm
We
just
mentioned it
thinking-
to John last time, and
Sure,
for
and
the
we-
board to go ahead and say, let's create this business district with the assumption that we've already put caveats on the whole thing before we start doing it. This is the problem last time. You're putting the cart before the horse. So I respectfully ask the board to slow down before you go and open up the whole thing. Let's have a discussion among ourselves.
Right.
Hey, this is financially, is
See-
this something we as a town should be able to do?
Mm-hmm.
We had a brouhaha with stupid condos. Do we need to have the same thing with the businesses?
I'm thinking of liability.
Right.
We're
Well,
here
we
for
don't even know if
saving
other
money,
towns
just
do
save
this.
money.
Well, that's
Well,
another thing
well, the-
entirely.
the-
Well, no, but I mean, I think that's the start. If no other town
I agree.
in our
Right,
sort of,
and-
in our
So my-
comps do this,
Right.
then we shouldn't even be discussing this.
Right.
So my intention is not to create conflict, is not to stir up debate right now, it's to share
Right.
a status update
Mhm.
on the progress the board has made. I respect your comments. I think we should discuss it further. I
Right.
think we can move forward in having that discussion. So if I can get some structure on how you would like to see that to satisfy your
Okay,
concerns.
I'll tell you, and
Mhm.
anybody at home, anybody, our town administrator, I've said it a million times, right? We are here every Tuesday night. If the select board is discussing an issue that has financial implications and would like to, to his point about putting a cart before a horse, it takes nothing more than an email to me saying, we'd like to get on your agenda to talk to you, we're discussing this
No,
proposal.
I'd like
Their
to,
financial
period.
implications.
If the select board is discussing something that has financial implications, full stop, they should come.
Yes,
and
no,
meet
I
with
agree,
us
but I'm
and
saying that to
discuss it.
do that, all they
Not
need to do
send-
is
not send
notify
an
me and I put them on the
email
agenda.
And then just assume that within the massive emails that we all get, that it's being read and picked up on, not, just
Correct.
say, hey, we're gonna have a joint meeting, we're gonna come in, at the end of your meeting, we'll have 30 minutes, and we'll brief
Right.
you.
Can
on what
someone
we're
just
doing.
clarify for me, has the finance committee reviewed the solid waste budget in an open meeting yet?
We
I
reviewed-
was looking at the agenda and
We
I.
reviewed an
your schedule.
unapproved budget last week, but
Okay,
let me
okay.
make one comment about that though, right? I think that what's disturbing to a lot of people here, and why, I raised it because I wanted to know what was done, because I was
Sure.
concerned there was a financial impact that we hadn't heard about, okay? But the bigger issue, I think, with that kind of stuff is merely that there is a perception that because the budget is in good shape, right? Mr. Ritter said we're picking up less trash, whatever, or we're seeing a surplus, right? That we can immediately turn around and spend that on the businesses or on something else, right? We are running a deficit right now, or no, not quite so much now, but that's the thing where the presumption that because there's money available, that it can be spent without consultation with us is where I think a lot of people here take issue.
Tina, it sounds
There's,
like you
if
guys
there's
are
a
going
financial
down.
implication, it should always come to us.
It sounds like you guys are going down a path where you're getting ready to announce this business
Exactly.
district. You're going to sign a contract with Harvey, come to us with a concluded
And
contract.
then Jeff's gonna say,
and
well,
just
it was in the budget.
This is just
It
what
was
we needed,
within
it's in the
what
budget,
our
just
budget was,
just
which
find
is
the
not the
money.
way it should be
Which
done.
is exactly what happened in the fall with the employment contracts.
I don't know
And
what to say or do to
We'll
demonstrate.
just say,
the-
we're not gonna do that. I mean, just say, I would not vote for a contract that we haven't, or for any kind of,
Correct.
financial.
Okay, we get it, Dan.
No, well, I mean,
No, I
that's.
know, but
She's saying, I don't know what to say, I'm telling her.
No.
exactly
What I
would
mean to
be-
say is I don't need to be reprimanded. What I
Correct.
mean to say is that I'm here to take that step, to start the dialogue,
Exactly.
to share the information.
doing
This
what
is an update.
Well, I mean,
This is
Yes.
an update that I'm looking for feedback on. You're giving me feedback,
Right.
and that's helpful, and then we can move forward with it. There has been no signed contract, no amendment to any contract. There has been a proposed budget that was approved by the Select Board. It did, during the discussion for that budget, discuss the addition of businesses. There was discussion and a vote to create a business district. That is where we are right now. I
So-
hear your
But
comment.
here's the thing, though.
Wait, I have a
But here's the thing,
question.
we
I
told
think we're one
John
at a time.
a couple of weeks ago what we wanted, and so now you're the second select board
Correct.
member to come before us, and it's almost as if that didn't happen, that comment
That, I think-
didn't happen.
Right, and to Tina, just to be clear, right, that's, I think what is a little upsetting is we had this discussion with another member of the select board 2 or 3 weeks ago.
Who was a
right?
liaison to the
Who
finance
was
committee.
liaison to the finance
right?
committee, and so then it went, again, without,
And
so
so-
it's not reprimanding you, we're just, that's the frustration you're sensing.
The creation of the
Yes.
business district, is it solely for the purpose of this trash thing, or are we gonna use it for anything else?
I'm not sure, honestly, I'm not sure I understand the context of your question.
So you're creating a business district.
Is there a zoning implication or
It-
something like
No,
that?
I'm not zoning, but I'm
What, you know
more,
what I
what's the
mean?
purpose of having this business district? What are you gonna do with it?
It is to define who can enter into, in this
So
context.
it's solely
it is-
for the purposes of the trash. So you voted on something before discussions about this, and as we pointed out, we mentioned to John 2 weeks ago, hey,
3 weeks ago.
let's get us some information about this. So again, it comes back to the Board of Selectmen or Select Board going and doing things without talking to the FinCom. Hey, what's our right?
Sure.
Well, that's great, but, and this is not a reprimand to you directly, it's to the entity, to the board, because people aren't talking to each other. And the simple fact is, we're gonna be in the same situation in town meeting. Hey, this is the same, we're here and we look like fools because we didn't talk to each other. So let's not have that happen.
Sure. I
because
hear
it's-
what you're saying. I understand the concern. What are the financial questions that you're looking
Well, I
for
wanna
in
know-
terms of?
Well,
What are the finance,
Well,
how
there-
much does it cost?
exactly.
Okay.
I mean, that-
It's
that-
like-
but
I will get that,
But-
we have it,
but
we
when I say
discussed
that,
it on
it's not a
Monday.
number, it's more than that. It's like, what did you do to model how many businesses are
Right,
located in
right,
this
right,
area?
yeah.
What do we expect that, that the implication will be on tipping fees? What do you expect, what are the businesses that are remaining, or do we
Yeah.
expect, I mean,
More
it's not just saying,
specifically, what
here's,
are the
you
other
think it's gonna
towns-
cost
Why are we
much,
doing
explain to
this?
us
Why are we
why
doing
we're
it?
doing that.
Wait,
But
what
one
other
at a time,
towns-
please, one
What
at
are
a
the
time.
towns, do you wanna write the?
Why are we doing, because this is the conversation you and I had the other day, was
Right.
what are towns in the area doing?
Right.
And Ashland, and to Dan's point, is that gonna make or break somebody choosing to come in here? No. Yes, are people upset because this was taken away from them? Yes. Should we have been doing it in the first place? I don't know. I probably find it hard to believe other towns are doing it.
Well,
So
do you know
these are
that
things we
question?
need to know.
Have we done the research on the other towns?
It is a part of the ongoing discussion we are having about how to bring small businesses into the trash program, yes.
So-
But why are
so-
you creating a district before you even know what other towns do? I mean, this is just,
But you know
this is
what?
just
That's-
asinine.
So I understand there may not be agreement on the approach that the select board has taken. I understand that. The question that I have for the finance committee are what are the financial implications that you're most concerned about? I'm hearing what you're saying.
Okay, I understand that some of the businesses, it might be a practical thing. You just might not have room for a dumpster. You know what I mean? You just
No,
don't
but
have
you could
room
also,
for.
but
But the thing is, so then offer them the service for a fee. You know, find out what the cost is, the delta is, and then say, okay, you can have this service, you can have the 35 gallon, you can have this and that, and then we'll charge you a fee, and then you can have the trash pickup.
Well, I think that's the important thing to find out what other towns are doing, because if other towns are charging fees, I guess I have, again, I have said this before, I have significant concerns that we just keep spending, and
Yes.
we just keep seeing
And-
more
and
and
that was-
more and more
but-
things coming at us to spend money. We,
Right.
you know, we
I-
comment about the
yes.
debt, and, well, we want to run the debt back up, so taxpayers are going to take the
Right, because I don't mind
implication. I'm just-
offering the
It
service.
just seems like there's just.
I don't mind the service.
I just think
Okay.
there has to be a thoughtful process and discussion around finances before we get to a conclusion around
and
something.
before we're promising things to the town, yes.
Yes.
And that's
This is fair.
basically my point. I think, based on what's, that's what I want to say is that, we can get bogged down in the discussions. I think we should put this on our own agenda to have an actual discussion because this is off agenda. And I appreciate that you came here to tell us this. This is an update. So, I think what's really frustrating for me is just that, I find out what's going on if you tell us, you're very open, you're willing to talk about anything, and this isn't an indictment
I
of
was going to say,
you.
this has nothing to do with
This has
Tina,
nothing to
so-
do, and it's nothing to
Yeah.
do with even the individuals within your committee. Everybody's willing to talk, and no one has been anything but forthright. But a lot of times I find out about things by reading the Holliston Reporter.
Right.
And you do come, you do give us some updates, but it's not on agenda, so we really shouldn't, it's not really
Fair enough.
appropriate for us
Sure.
to talk
Fair
about it.
But-
And I think from a process standpoint, I think there needs to be more ingrained in conversations that are formal between our boards.
Exactly.
If it's, once a month or whatever,
Sure.
even if it's like all three of you, hold on, come in here and during our finance committee, or you invite us to come to a select board, we switch off or something. But there needs to be some formal process where we have some of these conversations, and then maybe we say, look, we won't have these updates every once in a while. We're going to put this on the agenda. We're going to have these conversations. We're going to iron it out, and we're going to work through it. And I think that's really kind of the crux of what's happening over these. Let me finish. What's been happening with some of this stuff over the past few months is that there is this disconnect, and I think we need to get to a solution. And part of it, part of it's the trash, part of it's important, but we have to have a mechanism so this
Right.
doesn't keep happening.
Well, just to be clear, the mechanism exists, which is we have open meetings, they have open meetings, right? I think that the frustration is, if we were discussing, which we've done many times when people come to us with personnel issues, we will sit here and we'll say that it's a personnel matter, that has to go to the select board. We get a budget from a department that's overseen by the select board, has it been approved? No, that has to go to the select board, right? What we're not seeing, and this is a message to take back to your board, is when you're discussing something that has any kind of financial implication, one of the three people on the select board should immediately be saying, this has a financial implication, we should be talking to the finance committee. So we're not going to vote on it till we go and you just tip, and again, an email saying we're going to do this doesn't count. It's easy enough for you to send me something saying, we're discussing this issue, not you personally, I'm saying the select board, somebody, Jeff, send me something saying, another example is the Green Street thing, right? With the thing, we had some email communication about that, but that ultimately comes down as a reserve fund transfer that goes to the select board Monday, comes to us on Tuesday. There's a formal process, and I think that's what you're
So-
sensing here, is that when there are financial issues to what you're discussing, no one on the board sits there and says, wait a minute, this should go to the finance committee.
Understood. I'm here because I read the agenda and made the decision to come
Yeah.
here. That's a two-way street.
Right.
Our agenda's posted, and they're open meetings, and we would always welcome comment and collaboration. And I'll come back to the request for a tri-board meeting. As to Ben's point, there need to be opportunities to have some of these bigger conversations. So I think we're in agreement on that.
Debt schedule necessarily, I'm not sure.
No, I
exactly
agree
what
with-
to
that's
start
not my
the
point.
conversation.
That
But
might-
I just went to your point, I would just, anyone watching at home, I actually think that this is actually a proper thing for us to discuss now, because I do believe it's like sort of, it is on
Yeah, what concerns
because
that
we have
FY21
discussions on
budget?
matters related to the 2021 budget.
Yes.
So I mean, yes, that this particular thing isn't written on there, but it is a budget. So we're
Well,
not
this is
doing.
exactly why I have that item on.
I'm just saying, I don't think we're out of bounds in
Anything
discussing
that
this.
concerns
I
the
don't think
budget.
we're out of
basically.
bounds, but I think it should be an agenda. topic.
Yes, and we can
Sure,
do that.
but it's
Really
not technically
detailed
right,
discussion
yeah.
can be a future agenda.
Right.
topic.
That's fine, I just want to be clarified
Okay.
that we're not.
Okay, I think we've beaten this into horse meat, so let's just
Yeah,
move
that's all.
forward. Okay?
All right.
Okay, thank you for the update, Tina. Is there
You're
anything else you
welcome.
wanted to?
No,
You didn't catch, definitely wasn't 30
Woo,
seconds.
went away.
So
Yeah.
you'll be hearing, I guess, from the chairs or someone from the select board on our
Yeah.
next plans. I mean, it's tough because we post
Well-
our agendas, we send out emails, so I'm not really sure, like, what, in any given week or 2-week or 3-week
Well, we-
period, like, I'm not sure what additional
If you think,
communication.
No, no,
if
but
you think
it's- no,
something
but
is
let
going to
me-
have financial implications, somebody should send it to the FinCom and say, hey, by the way,
No,
we're
but-
going to talk about this.
But I'll say.
Because I
the-
can't look at everything.
Right, but
that
the
you're
other thing
doing,
is that
too.
email doesn't count, right? This is the issue with the whole, I don't want to rehash it, but the whole thing that
Fair
happened
enough,
last fall
fair
was, saying, oh, well, you sent an email, right? As to Ben's point, we get a lot of emails every day, right? I read some of them, sometimes I skim through them, whatever. If there's a financial issue, ultimately, from the public's point of view and from the formal point of view, it has to come to the committee. In the same way that if we were discussing something here about something related to personnel issues, one of us would end up going to your board meeting and saying, I'd go there and say, here's the issue we have, right? Which I've done in the past for guideline setting, things like that.
And
I've
also
done it
use the
recently.
FinCom, all of not just send it to Ken, but use the FinCom at Holliston.
Right,
that,
but
you know.
no, but.
But you're saying
but
can we
sending
get on
it
your,
to
can we
Ken
get on your?
sending it to
Wait,
us.
let
But
Ken
correct.
finish, let
But, right, but my point is that I do not want to say, just send it to everybody in the FinCom, because I don't want to hear from any of the select boards saying, well, we emailed it to you. My
But-
point is, we have an agenda, they can email me or the whole FinCom and say,
Asking to get on
this
the
issue,
agenda.
we want to be on the agenda, and
Yes.
then I put it on the next agenda, and we're done, and then I say,
No, that's what
you're
I'm
on for
saying.
next
Yeah,
week or
that's what I-
whatever.
yeah.
And that's in the same way that I would do that for the select board. As I said, I've done that in the past when we've had things where I'd say, I wouldn't even do email, I'd just, call Jay Marsden or whoever the chair was and say, we need to come and talk to you about something. And they say, okay, put you on the agenda. And then Jeff says, you're on
They
at
would do the same.
7:30 or something, and I come in and talk.
And they would do the same.
And that's what I'm saying. So the only message I would take from all this, I don't want to belabor the discussion, is what I said earlier. The succinct way of putting it is that we would appreciate it if one of the three of you, when there were financial implications, said, before we vote, before we move forward, if there's a financial implication, let's get on the FinCom agenda and just run it by, make sure they know what's going on. That's all we're asking for. And then we can give this feedback to you before you create a mess that we have to deal with later. Okay?
Yeah, well, there's
And-
no
and-
intention to
And I
create
will
a
tell you
mess.
one
There's
other
an intention
just
to
comment
address
related to all
concerns
this,
out
it's
of
not about this
residents and
particular issue,
businesses.
is the one thing I would give you strong advice, my personal advice, we haven't discussed as a committee, the way the budget looks right now, I would not move forward, not plan on having a CFO in this budget. I don't,
It's unfortunate.
it's unfortunate, but I think reality is.
I wouldn't plan on
think
any
it's
additional spending.
Exactly.
But you can have plans that if somehow
If something
we have
occurs,
some huge
right.
windfall, but.
But I'm just saying, right now, the budgeting is looking very tight.
I want to make sure those two conversations happen in complete separation, anything about the trash budget and anything about the CFO position
Oh, yeah, of
are in
course, of
complete
course.
separation.
Well, except
And
That's
all-
why I said they're
they're all-
not, they're not tied.
I
They're all
do
money.
I was just making
understand
the
that
comment
piece
that
of
you had
it.
mentioned the CFO, and I'm just advising
Okay.
you, as us looking at the budget, that if the plan is to move forward with that in FY '21, right now it's looking like, I mean, you got to remember, we've added a lot of staff in the last couple of years. So we're going to have the facilities manager, sustainability coordinator, which
I
is
understand.
theoretically paid,
A lot
so
of
forth.
raises.
Bigger
Other things like
issues,
that.
just-
So
We have other-
all I'm saying is that
Three
financially, I
contracts.
don't know if we
We
can
have other staffing
do a CFO
ads
in
coming up,
21.
too.
So
as well.
just keep that in mind as you proceed down the CFO path, because it may not happen. It probably is not something that will happen in '21.
But let's definitely do it at some point in the future, so
Okay.
don't not work on it.
Okay, and I will reiterate, right, none of this is meant to be in any way personal or anything like this.
Oh, I don't take it
appreciate that you
personal.
came in and gave us this update, and,
Thank you.
Thank you.
I know these, we get a little unrestrained at times, but I try my best, and I don't have my gavel to,
Do you have a
keep
gavel?
things in-
I don't
I do have
want
a
it.
Well,
gavel.
I
do have a gavel, I just never bring
Unfortunately,
it.
a lot of this is emotional tinge, sort of what happened last year.
Right,
so-
and that's why I said, that. So keep it, that's why I try to advise you guys to
But also not
keep
wanting to
it,
repeat.
temper it,
So.
okay? So, thank you.
Thank you, Ken.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Tina.
thank you,
Thank you,
Board.
Tina.
And meanwhile, we're still waiting for the.
That's right, we're still searching for the video here.
Well, that was 25
Okay.
minutes, so
Yes.
30 seconds.
I think we can safely say it's not.
Yeah, it's not loading.
So, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, that's not subject to debate. Do the vote, all is in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, none, zero abstentions. That concludes the Tuesday, January 28th meeting of the Finance Committee. Thank you for joining us tonight. We'll be back again next week. We should be on TV. I don't think we're being bumped out of this room next week. But we'll continue with our budget reviews and any other financial matters that we have to discuss as part of our preparation for May's town meeting. But for tonight, we're done, so thank you and good night.